So let me start out by saying that the video footage you're watching is me playing the PC version of the game, so if you see a lot of stuttering, it's not because, my video equipment screwed up or anything like that. It's because this is a piece of shit port. But what I'm about to say actually has nothing to do with the fact that, they released a $60 indie game marketed as a AAA game that runs like Parkinson's disease. So I didn't even take performance issues into account here because hopefully they'll be able to patch that and get that rolling. So I'm just going to talk about the main functions of the game. So anyway, moving on into the review. Do you ever see a movie trailer on TV and it just looks great? Like you're laughing at it or you just see some really awesome moments and you think, I gotta see this movie. And so you go out, you see the movie, and you sit there for 2 or 3 hours and you can't wait to get up and get out of the theater because the movie just sucks. And you realize that they literally put all the best moments of the movie in the commercial. To me, that's No Man's Sky. And I hate to say it, but I've seen it all along. Like I was tweeting about this back in 2014 whenever I said this game looks overhyped. Like there's really not that much here. It's just a resource gathering game where you can travel. And you remember whenever, all the devs and Sony and everybody was being really coy anytime somebody asked, what do you do in this game? And they would just laugh about it, but it was because they had already showed you everything there was to do in this game. Like, I know we've been sitting here for years watching the gameplay thinking that there was something magical, something else that was going to be happening in this game, but really, what we saw was what we got. You scan a bunch of shit to collect resources, you can name some things that you discover, and then you travel to another planet to do it all again. And sure, there might be a few minor mechanics that's sprinkled onto it, but this is really the gist of the game. And this is what you're going to be doing the majority of the game while having to constantly manage a horribly designed inventory screen. And that's why a lot of the reviews that you've probably been reading are saying that they find themselves in a loop after several hours of playing, and then it's not that enjoyable after you get past the first sections of it. And it's because you are in a loop. That's the game. The game is a loop. You collect resources, you travel, you collect more resources. And so, I've been catching some hell for a few years because I've been saying that there doesn't look like there's that much depth to this game. And sure enough, the game that I watched in the trailers, the gameplay that I watched like in the dev diaries and the game previews from multiple sites, this was the game that I ended up getting. This is the game that I ended up playing. Like, we saw it all. And, a lot of people got hung up on the fact that, it's procedurally generated. They kept on saying that, like this was supposed to be some sort of groundbreaking material here, even though procedurally generated games have been around forever. But who plays Minecraft simply because it's procedurally generated and simply because you can run forever in it? Like, nobody cares about that. The point that makes Minecraft so much fun is that you can create things. So it's not about just resource gathering. Then people were talking about, how many planets there were. But you look at a game like Elite Dangerous that's already been out for a while, it lets you travel to like 400 billion star systems that are actually recreated based on our actual known universe. And on those games, you can go fly down to the planets and discover them or whatever else. And both of those games that I just mentioned also have actual real multiplayer in it, so you can enjoy it with your friends. So you can't make a fun game just based on algorithms. Like, just being procedurally generated, just being a ton of content isn't going to make something fun. And when it comes to resource gathering games, I've gotten into several resource gathering games. I've told you I've gotten hung up before on Reign of Kings back several months ago. I've played Rust, I've played Hurt World, so I enjoy those resource gathering games too. But the difference is between those games and No Man's Sky is there's a lot more to those other games. Like, the resource gathering is just one aspect to move into a totally different realm. And with No Man's Sky, it feels like that is the game, like just a resource gather, really. And so there's not this, deep crafting mechanic to it. There's not this creative level of just building things up in No Man's Sky like there are with so many other games. It's like this game is as wide as an ocean and as deep as a puddle. And so whenever you first start off, you know, it may seem like there's a lot of content here. It may seem like the worlds are vast and different and everything. But after a while, you start realizing that it's the same assets just used everywhere. Like there's just some mathematical formula that just made it look different. And the same thing goes with the animals. I heard somebody compare it to like Lego animals, which makes perfect sense to me because, again, it was just like they, you know, put in a bunch of creatures and then they divided up their limbs and a mathematical formula goes out and, you know, combines them to put like wings on a dog or something. And so after a while, you realize there's just not a whole lot here. Now, if this game would have been priced like it should have been, it would have been priced like an indie game that it is, and, you know, it was $20, $30, $40 at the very max, then I don't think this would have been that big of a deal. And I think people could still enjoy it for whatever it is. And especially if they open it up to the modding community, I think they could probably do a whole lot better job with this and add some really cool elements. But this game has been hyped to death. It's been promoted and marketed mainly by Sony as this $60 AAA title when there was really no way in hell 15 people were going to be able to deliver that sort of an experience. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes you can judge a book by its cover. Sometimes you can watch gameplay and know that it's boring before playing it. And playing No Man's Sky, I got exactly what I thought I would, which I'm kind of disappointed in. Like, I was hoping I would be surprised. I was hoping there was more to this game than everything that I had read, everything that I had saw. But what I got was a shallow, repetitive, boring experience from a world that really had incredible potential. Like, there's so much that could be done with this game. Like, if they would have worked harder on introducing different gameplay features, focusing on making the game more fun, and instead of focusing on just, you know, how much content there is, how many quadrillion planets that you'll never visit there are, this really could have been a great game. And it still has potential. Maybe they'll, you know, patch it and get it where it's a really good game. But, you know, a lot of good games, a lot of fun games, they lack content. Like, you'll have people come out here and say, you know, this is a ton of fun. There's just not a whole lot of maps, for instance, for multiplayer. And so they might be fun, but you might have people complain that there's just not enough content there. With No Man's Sky, it's got the complete opposite problem. There's a ton of content here, more than you'll ever see, more than you'll ever want to see, but it's just not really fun. And at least for me, if you're gonna play this, wait for a very, very deep discount or rent it. Because buying this up at $60, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to feel like they've been ripped off. But as always, this is just one man's opinion. This is my opinion. And don't let my opinion hurt your feelings. I know there's some people out there who are going to absolutely say, this is the greatest game I've ever played. You know, I'm so glad that I bought this for $60. I would pay $300 for this experience. You know, so don't let my opinion hurt your feelings. Post your comments down below about what you think of No Man's Sky, if you played it before, if you agree or you disagree with me. But ultimately, I found that this game was marketed and hyped to death. It was overhyped and overrated, and ultimately the underwhelming experience. That does it for me, The Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.